Hey, it's Amy Brown from The Bobby Bones Show. Join me in supporting St. Jude Children's Research Hospital for a chance to win a trip to meet Megan Maroney at the 2025 iHeart Country Festival in Austin, Texas on May 3rd, hosted by Bobby Bones. We're going to hook you up with tickets, flights, hotel, food credits, and a meet and greet with Megan Maroney. Take action now to support St. Jude and help cure childhood cancer, and you're going to be entered for a chance to win. Visit iHeartCountryTrip.com to learn more.
How to have fun anytime, anywhere. Step 1. Go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2. Collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3. Play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4. Unleash your excitement.
Woohoo!
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 9th episode of Crime Over Wine, the only podcast with head-scratching true crime stories that are just better over a bottle of wine. I'm your host, Liam Collins, and this week I have a very special guest, a pet lover so passionate she does it every single day. She's also a huge true crime lover, too. My guest host this week is Kelly Smith. Hello, Kelly. How are you doing?
Hi, guys. I'm so excited to be here. Hi, Liam.
I know you're so excited to be here because you've been texting about it like literally every single day, which I love so much.
I was so enthusiastic. I've been counting down the days. I don't get out much, so this is the highlight of my month.
Excellent. Well, I am so happy that you're here. So Kelly and I go all the way back to high school. We met, I believe, in business class.
Right.
I just took a guess on that. Back when we were at Carmel High School in New York, almost 10 years ago. Now she works with all sorts of cute pups and kittens at Little Shelter Rescue and Adoption in Huntington, New York, and Southampton Animal Shelter in Hampton Bays, New York. So like the Long Island Animal Shelter queen, basically.
Yeah, Liam, no, I definitely work for two incredible rescues that do incredible things, and I'm so excited to talk a little more about them.
Yeah, well, I know you're so passionate about it, and you have all sorts of rescue animal content. I know you're a rescue mom, too. You know, I'm a rescue dad of 2. So we love our rescue pups, and we love you for loving your rescue pups so much, too.
Absolutely. I got my gravy girl sitting side by side me right now.
Her, just to be clear, her name is Gravy. Like, not that she's like reminds her of Gravy.
She was found on the streets of New York City during Thanksgiving. So the New York ACC gave her the name Gravy.
Oh, that's so I didn't know that story. That's so awesome. Well, go check Kelly out online too, so you can see all of Gravy content, because we love that. So let's get into our wine of the week. Kelly, what do you think?
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to crack this bottle open.
Me too. I've been really eyeing this for a while, ever since we decided to do this, and I'm ready for it. So this week we are drinking Voga's Pinot Grigio. It's a subtle white with flavors of peach pulp, yellow apples, and a palate that leads to a mineral spring-like water finish.
Ooh.
Which is kind of fun.
I feel like it matches the elegant bottle.
Oh, for sure. And you know what's funny is actually, I think the first time I saw this bottle, I actually thought it was mineral water. So I think that they're clearly leaning into that in a big way.
It mimics a fancy water that I definitely pass in the grocery store.
Oh, and one that definitely costs like $20. And to be clear, not all water is created equally. I stand by that.
Amen, sister.
I'm a huge Smart Water guy. That's like my go-to water. And
Life
also
water personally, but Smart Water is not bad.
Should we start a water podcast?
Crime over water?
I think we should do that. I think that's the spinoff. For sure.
Life is a balance.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And you know what? Some people just don't like wine, but everyone has to drink water. I think we should do it.
True.
Cheers to you. Thanks so much for coming on.
Okay, I enjoy this. I definitely taste the peach.
The peach is popping, and it is a very light wine. Like when they said a mineral spring water like finish, it like to a T. Like that, it definitely reminds me of like drinking like, a very nice glass of
They're spot on. Give them a raise.
100%. I am so ready to talk about this story. I have so many thoughts. I feel very confident you will too.
And I'm intrigued. I'm drawn in. I want to know more.
You're in for the ride of your life then, Kelly, because I went in. This week, Kelly, I want to take you to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where you can make a difference in a mind-bending death investigation playing out right now as we speak. It's a story that is going to send you in circles and circles. At first, you probably will land right where the investigators ended up landing on this, but hold on tight, because as the family proved just in the last few months, that was not the full story, not even close to it. And it will make you wonder if there is really a cover-up going on in Philadelphia as we speak. Today, I'm going to tell you the story of Ellen Greenberg and the 20 self-inflicted stab wounds. In January of 2011, Ellen Greenberg seemed to finally be accomplishing everything she wanted to. The 27-year-old was working for an elementary school, which is what she always wanted to do. She was living in the vibrant city of Philadelphia and was engaged to the love of her life. Family and friends described her as competitive, agreeable, and truly just the life of the party. She graduated from Penn State about 5 years earlier, where she even worked as a lionizer, which is what the school called students who introduced prospective football players to the campus. January 26th was going well for Ellen. She spoke with her mom around 7 that morning when they were both going to work, but her mom later tells investigators that they had a pretty basic conversation. She was a little overwhelmed with classroom work, though. This was her 3rd year as an elementary school teacher in the city, and grades were due that day. But midday, she got the news that every teacher and every student across the country prays for in the winter. Schools in the city were letting out early for a snow day. A nor'easter was barreling toward the tri-state area. So relieved and probably in a pretty good mood with this positive news of a free half day, Ellen went home and got gas around at 1:30 that afternoon before heading back to the apartment she shared with her fiance on Flat Rock Road. She and her fiance, Sam Goldberg, had a pretty simple afternoon. Nothing crazy while they were snowed in together. Around 4:45, though, Sam decided that he was going to go for a quick workout at the gym in their apartment complex. He came back about 30 minutes later, which feels like a pretty short workout to me, but like, whatever. I'm also not like a huge gym rat either, so.
Yeah, I was just going to say, please don't judge. I think when I was in my workout phase, I'm pretty sure I rounded about at 29.5 minutes.
Okay, so maybe you see pictures of Sam, like, he's a pretty big dude. Like, I don't really see him. I don't know. I could be wrong, though. I don't know how long it takes.
True. I will say when I used to go to the gym with my ex, his workouts were much more intense and longer than mine.
Yeah. Well, when Sam got back to the apartment, he said the door was locked, and not only the deadbolt, but instead from the inside. It was locked using the latch that's only accessible from the inside of the apartment, kind of like in a hotel room. It's, that like bar that goes across to make sure that nobody can get in no matter what. So he's wondering what's going on and tries to call out for Ellen, and when she doesn't answer, he tries texting, calling, and even emailing her to get her to open the door. When she wouldn't answer, he said he goes downstairs to get the security guard who is on staff, but he can't get the door open either. And I'm not sure what Sam's thought process is here, and this is a really important point later on, so hold on to this, but I'm not sure what, like, a security guard could have done. Like, if the door is actually, like, shut from the inside and locked from the inside, no one's really going to be able to open it. At least they shouldn't be able to. Like, that's kind of the whole point of locking your door that way, I would think.
I don't know. Is there some sort of contraption that maybe a utility man or a maintenance man has, like, kind of like when you lock your keys in the car, there's that device that police can use to unlock the cars? Is there something like that?
I don't know. I mean, maybe there is. I don't know. In fact, maybe I should like look it up really fast, but I mean, I can't imagine there is, but like also like creepy, like if there is, because it's like, again, like if you, like the whole point of locking your door that way is like, so
So
nobody
no
can
one
get
can
in.
get in.
Yeah. And like you would think that like the security guard would have like a universal key, you know? So like if you really wanted to shut it that way, like you want to make sure nobody can get in the apartment, even if they have a key.
Yeah, I was gonna say, even if I lived with my fiance and he was going down to the gym, I foresee myself locking the door. That would
Mm-hmm.
be safe. But to deadbolt it doesn't really make sense to me if I know my fiance would be returning.
Oh, pretty soon too. Like, I mean, again, like 30 minutes seems really short, but like at least within like the next like hour or two, right?
That being said, I remember in college, me and my roommate were horrible at locking our dorm
Mm-hmm.
door. But my next roommate was super, super serious about it. So I was super serious about it.
Mm.
So I could see maybe if that was her routine and he
Mm-hmm.
was used to coming home and her having to unlock the deadbolt every day. Like I could see that, but that would be more
Yeah.
neurotic.
Yeah, and that does not seem to be the case at all here. So, after about a half hour of trying to get Ellen's attention to no avail, Sam decides he's going to break down the door himself. And when he does, the sight inside is one he will never be able to forget. When Sam breaks down the door, he finds Ellen slumped over, bloodied, and unconscious in their kitchen, and he immediately calls 911.
I just walked to my apartment. My fiance's on the floor with blood everywhere.
What is the address?
4601 Flat Rock Road. Please come. Help. Now.
4601
Flat Rock Road.
Is this a house or apartment?
Oh, no. Oh, no. It's an apartment.
What apartment number?
603.
Apartment 603.
603. Please, Harry, please.
Where is she bleeding from?
I don't know. I can't tell.
No, so you have to calm yourself down in order to get you some help.
I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm looking at her right now. I can't see anything. There's nothing broken. She's bleeding. Ellie.
You don't know where she's bleeding from? Can't see where the blood's coming from?
I think her head. I think she hit her head, I think. But it's everywhere.
Okay,
it's everywhere.
She might have fallen. Do you know what happened?
She may have slipped. There's blood on the table. Her face is a little purple.
Okay, hold on for rescue for her. Stay on the phone.
Fire Department 842. What's the address? No,
4601 Flat Rock Road. Please hurry.
4601 Flat Rock?
Yes.
What's wrong?
I went downstairs to go work out. I came back up. The door was latched. My fiance's inside. She wasn't answering. So after about a half hour, I decided to break it down. I see her now just on the floor with blood. She's not responding.
Okay, is she breathing? Look at her chest. I need you to calm down, and I need you to look at her chest. It's really.
I really don't think she is.
Listen to me. Someone's on the way. Look at her chest. Is she flat on her back?
She's on her back. Do I bring her?
Look at her chest and tell me if it's going up and down, up and down.
I don't see her moving.
Okay, do you know how to do CPR?
I don't.
Okay, I can tell you what to do, okay, until they get there. I want you to keep her flat on her.
God.
Hello?
Yeah, hi, okay.
Are you willing to do CPR with me over the phone until they get there?
I have to, right?
Okay, so get her flat on her back, bare her chest, okay? You want to rip her shirt off.
Oh, shit.
Okay, you need to kneel down by her side.
Oh, my God. Ellie, please.
Listen, you can't freak out, sir, because you gotta...
Okay, I'm trying not to. Her shirt won't come off. It's a zipper. Oh, my God. She stabbed herself.
Where?
She fell on a knife. Oh, no, her knife's sticking out.
Her what?
There's a knife sticking out of her heart.
Oh, she stabbed herself?
I guess so. I don't know where she fell on it. I don't know.
Okay, well, don't touch it.
Okay, so I just let her down here now? I mean, what do I do?
No, I mean, you can't... If the knife is at her chest, it's going to be kind of hard for you to do CPR at this time.
Oh, no. Oh, my goodness. Okay.
Police, which operator? 277.
Is someone coming here?
Yes, they are. You said 4601 Flat Rock, right?
Yes.
Okay, someone's on the way. The knife is still inside?
Wait, so what?
The knife is still inside of her?
Yes. Yes, I didn't take it out.
Was it a chest or what area?
It's in her chest. It looks like it's right in her heart.
Okay, someone's on the way out there. Okay, just get.
Oh my god.
How old is she?
She's 27.
27. And there's no sign of life at all? Like, pinch her into her arm.
No, please don't be. What?
Pinch her into her arm and tell me if she responds to pain.
Ellie. She's not. Her hands are still warm. I don't know what that means. But there's blood everywhere.
I know, but you can't, and the knife is still inside of her. How far? Can you see how far it went in?
It looks pretty deep.
Okay.
It looks it's a long knife.
Don't touch anything. Yeah, don't touch anything, okay?
I'm not touching anything. I can't believe this stuff.
So wait, it was just you there with her?
We're the only ones here.
And she ran in the door, you said lanced it shut?
No, I went downstairs to work out, and when I came back up, the door was latched.
Oh.
Like it was, it wasn't like it was, it was like locked from the inside, and I'm yelling, so I'm
Was
yelling.
your house broken into?
No.
So there's no sign of a break-in?
No sign of a break-in at all. There will be when you get here, because I had to break the latch, but to get in.
Okay, 4601 Flat Rock, and this is a house, right?
It's an apartment, apartment 603.
Okay, that's a house. Apartment 603.
Oh my god. All right, thank you. Bye.
Okay, so what do you make of that, Kelly?
Weird to me that his first instinct is to say she stabbed herself.
Or fell on a knife. Like, okay.
He gave a lot of energy in the beginning. It was really powerful. And it seems like towards the end, he just declined.
Tapers off.
You don't hear the fast breathing that you would think would come with you walked in on your fiance dead, from what you think. You don't hear any shaking in his voice. You don't hear any discrepancies in his breathing.
Well, and what kind of blows my mind is toward the end when they're like, oh, is there any sign of a break-in? And he's like, no. Oh, but there will be when you get here. Because it seems very immediately defensive. I don't know. I guess I could kind of see that to see where it's okay, well, just so you guys know, I had to break into the apartment, so that's that you're gonna see that. But it seems like that was the initial instinct of okay, let me just make sure that you guys know that there's nothing to see here. And also too, so a couple of thoughts about the knife too, because so this was and we're about to get here too, but this was a kitchen knife. So this was not like a switch knife or anything. It's a large knife. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of confused how he didn't see that right
off.
away.
Especially he said she was slumped over, but on her back, see her face.
Right. Yeah. And also too, so and we're about to find out the extent of her injuries, but there was blood everywhere. And so I don't understand. And again, maybe he's just in shock at this point, but I don't understand how you see the scene that you're about to be described, and think CPR is even an option. There's no way that's
and did I hear him correct that he said he thought she slipped a knife or something
on a knife? Yeah, right. That's ridiculous to me too.
Hear the extent of her injuries now.
Yeah. Well, so let's get there then. So Ellen is in their kitchen and there is blood everywhere. Like I said, as you just heard, Ellen has a knife sticking out from her chest. When paramedics get to the 6th floor apartment, Ellen is lying on her back with her head and some of her body and shoulders on the lower half of their white kitchen cabinets, while her right hand is in a closed fist. Investigators later said that they believed her body was moved from her original position because of the blood streaks, but that's pretty consistent with what Sam told the 911 operator. He was trying to perform CPR on her, and he can't do that if she's upright against the cabinets. It's immediately obvious to them that Ellen had been stabbed multiple times. She had stab wounds in her chest and superficial wounds also on her chest too, but investigators said it didn't appear as though she had any defensive wounds.
So she didn't have any scratches or bruises on her fingers or what you would typically see as if... So are they thinking she was caught off guard?
if you're going into this like I am, thinking that she was murdered, I think that the safe assumption here is because of no defensive wounds that she, didn't see this coming, that she was stabbed and, didn't have time to defend herself in any way.
Okay.
So the knife Sam found in Ellen's chest was consistent with the rest of the knives in the block that was on their counter and overturned, as reported by the Washington Post. There is also a half-finished fruit salad on the counter, which doesn't really tell me much other than just the fact that she was clearly in the middle of something when all this happened. Investigators say the solid bar door guard and the common latch on the front door to the apartment is broken with the screws loose but still attached to the door. They said it was obviously forced open in a locked position, which again would have been consistent with Sam's story that he forced the door open. But aside from that, there is no evidence of any real struggle and nothing appeared to be missing from the apartment. The only way to exit the apartment besides the front door is through a rear sliding door that leads to a patio, but investigators said it was locked and there were no snow tracks. But remember, there is a heavy snowstorm coming through the city, so snow was still falling when investigators arrived. Inside Ellen and Sam's apartment, though, investigators found a range of prescriptions for Ellen, including alprazolam, clonazepam, and zolpidem. And I looked them up, and alprazolam and clonazepam are used to treat anxiety and depression, respectively, and zolpidem is used to treat insomnia. Investigators also found a journal of medications, which described her state of mind while she was taking the medications. The last date in the journal is January 16th, 10 days before Ellen died.
I wonder if the gaps were normal behavior for her, or if she did religiously write in it every day and she abruptly stopped 10 days prior.
Yeah, I'm curious about that too. So investigators also get a hold of Ellen's cell phone, which shows her last outgoing call was made at 2:30 that day to an undisclosed contact and lasted for about 30 seconds, so probably like a no-answered call. The last missed calls came from Sam between 5:30 and 5:42, so just when he was trying to get back into the apartment, and also from Venice Lofts between 6:07 and 6:10. She sent her last text to an undisclosed number at 3:47, and her last incoming texts were again from Sam. And Kelly, I need you to read what those texts say.
Okay, so they say,
"Hello? Open the door. What are you doing? I'm getting pissed. Hello? You better have an excuse. What the fuck? Ah, you have no idea."
Okay, that last one definitely spikes my interest,
Concerning.
But
yeah.
The other ones I will say are on par with the aggravation coming from a fiance who's maybe being a little disrespectful, but totally normal for just being aggravated.
Yeah, and I also think too, like, you can't discount the fact that, like, we're from like the Northeast, so we can definitely say this, like, the tempers are short, in in this part of the area of the country, so like, okay, like, not to excuse it. I mean, the you better have an excuse is a little okay, aggressive,
not necessarily a red flag for me as much as the last one. You have no idea.
Yeah,
it almost sounds like a threat.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It gives me the chills. Just like, again, I guess just like knowing what was actually like going on in the apartment, at least. Again, from the story he told.
I need another glass for this next part.
Yeah, let's definitely fill up our glasses because it's about to get weird. So investigators start piecing together a timeline of Ellen's death, and they start with Sam and Ellen's neighbors, who say that they didn't hear anything out of the ordinary that night. No fights or loud noises, but I find that a little odd, only because, again, Sam had to like break down the door to get in, and like, that can't be quiet by any means.
Didn't hear that?
Yeah, it's just like a little strange that no one mentioned that, or if they did, that police didn't mention it in their report.
Say if they truly didn't hear him breaking down the door, what else did they not hear?
Yeah, I mean, if that's true and they didn't hear anything, like, that feels like a pretty significant hole in Sam's story, so it still feels like worthy of like, okay, like, let's maybe revisit the story that Sam's telling, because again, Like, if you had to break down the door, like, neighbors are going to hear that.
How
you
can
know?
you not? I mean, at least I know from my friends when I visit them in the city, you hear everything
Oh,
from your
walls
neighbor
are thin.
upstairs.
Yeah.
Oh, walls are thin.
Yeah, so I don't really, I don't know. That felt like a very small detail, but like a very big red flag to me. But investigators' next stop is the people closest to Ellen, and their goal is to get a closer look into Sam and Ellen's relationship. The next day, investigators call Ellen's parents, who were already told by Sam that their daughter had died in one of the worst ways imaginable. This is when Ellen's mom tells police that she had just spoken with her daughter the morning before she died. She said she had no indication that there was anything wrong. She did tell police that she had been suffering from anxiety and that she had been seeing a psychiatrist for it. They did say that recently she hasn't really been sure of herself in her career and a little bit in her relationship, which is not really consistent of how she felt her whole life. I mean, she was this vibrant, beautiful young woman ready to take on the world. But despite all of that, they were unaware of her having any suicidal thoughts or actions.
I will say I feel like anxiety is a relatively common disorder to suffer from. And the things she's feeling given her age, the uncertainty, in a relationship, in her job, that's very, very normal. Yeah. And I don't think that's necessarily a red flag.
Yeah. Well, and it's definitely giving like quarter life crisis, which like, I can relate to, you know what I'm saying?
How are you?
Like, hi, I'm right here. So, her parents said that they were happy with Sam and they had absolutely no reservations about her relationship at all. But months before Ellen had died, she did tell her parents that she wanted to move back home to Harrisburg. And her parents were really confused by this because from the outside looking in, Ellen looked happy, in love, and successful, but maybe just struggling a little bit to find her footing. But that desire never came up again, so they just kind of blew it off. Investigators then questioned Ellen's psychiatrist, who said she was shocked by the news of Ellen's death. She had only seen Ellen 3 times before she died, and she actually had an appointment scheduled for the very next day. Ellen's psychiatrist had diagnosed her with severe anxiety. Ellen had expressed feelings of being really overwhelmed at work. Her school district had recently changed some regulations, and Ellen had really struggled to keep up. The last time Ellen had spoken to her psychiatrist, she was deciding whether she was going to quit her job or just work through it. As for her relationship, she had spoken lovingly of Sam, and her psychiatrist had gotten no indication of any physical or emotional abuse, and said she didn't believe she was abusing the pills she had been prescribed for her various mental illnesses. No one really gets a decently clear picture of Ellen's final moments until her autopsy comes out, and the details are extreme. So, Kelly, I hope you have your bottle handy.
Taking my sip now.
Ellen's autopsy says that she has multiple contusions to her upper arm, forearm, abdomen, thigh, and her knee. It also says she had been stabbed 20 times, 8 times to her chest, once to her abdomen, another on her scalp, and 10 times to her neck. And Kelly, it's really hard to imagine the number of stab wounds, but there is a diagram of all of the stab wounds on Ellen's body that the family's private investigator eventually puts together. And so I want you to take a look at this, and we're also going to link to it on the episode's page on our website.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, like...
Okay.
Yeah, when we're talking about, like a lot of blood, you know what I mean? Like,
listen, I sit through animal surgeries multiple times a week, and I can say I've yet to walk out of one. I don't get a weak stomach easily. This is physically making me wince.
Yeah, it's intense. So, again, if you're listening to this and thinking about clicking on what we're linking to, prepare yourself, because I mean, it's a diagram, so it's not actually her, of course. And so, but it's still, I mean, just thinking about, the sheer number of wounds here, like intense.
All it's bringing me back to is he on the 911 call said she stabbed herself.
I don't know. I guess I think about him like potentially being in shock, and just like really just not sure what's going on. Like seeing this again, just to give him the benefit of the doubt here.
Absolutely. And I think when there is so much blood, it is probably harder to see the wounds physically.
Yeah.
So
true.
I understand not realizing the amount of wounds. You did mention that she had multiple contusions to her upper arms and forearms. I wonder how she would get that. That maybe sounds like some sort of defensive wound to me.
Yeah, so we're going to get there much later on. So maybe write that down. We're going to get there. So one stab wound in particular gets a lot of attention from the medical examiner. It's that stab wound to the back of her neck that damaged her spinal cord. The ME writes that the injury was severe, but it wasn't severe enough that it would have incapacitated her. So the ME decides that she would have been able to inflict every other wound herself, but ultimately the medical examiner rules her death a homicide.
Which I can totally agree with.
So would have been able to inflict every other wound herself. I'm like, whoa, hold on. Like the number of stab wounds, like I feel like, I don't know, again, never been stabbed, thank goodness. But if I feel like you pass out from the pain at the very least.
I couldn't agree with you more. I don't know of one case off the top of my head where someone willingly stabbed themselves this many times.
Ellen's parents got the news that their daughter's death is a homicide moments before her father was going to give her eulogy at her funeral. And he announces to all of her friends and family that Ellen Greenberg was a victim of foul play. But evidently, it's not that simple. Kelly, let's just take a few minutes to refill our glasses, and I promise you're going to need it, because this is when Ellen's story takes a very complicated turn.
Oh, I know I'm going to need it. Liam, I don't know about your wine, but my wine's tasting divine as shit.
I'm ditto. That's all I have to say. Cheers. I am doing very well over here. I'm about like halfway through this bottle.
I have to say, it tends to get even more delightful the more you drink it.
Yeah. I always say that, it really just goes down a little bit easier once your palate gets a little more used to it. You notice a lot more flavors. It's an experience. Wine is an experience. So the very next day after Ellen's loved ones lay her to rest, the Philadelphia Police Department makes a peculiar announcement about her case. They say Ellen's death isn't necessarily a homicide, at least from their perspective, but they do say it's suspicious.
Wait, suspicious?
Suspicious. Yeah.
Go on.
So the medical examiner's office follows suit after apparently some sort of private meeting between them and the Philadelphia Police Department, and they officially change Ellen's manner of death to suicide.
A private meeting. I mean, I am not in law, so maybe I don't know how it works, but I feel like nothing should be private in a murder investigation, potentially.
Yeah, this feels a little icky to me.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, I don't really know what to make of that whole private meeting. I mean, when you say like nothing should be private, like I tend to disagree, and just in terms of like when you're talking about like, they do hold their cards to their chest because they don't want to, jeopardize a potential trial. But in this case, like they make it very clear that there is no suspect. So I don't really buy that, because they seem to be saying, okay, yep, open, shut, bye, and I'm like, okay, so like what's the point of the backdoor meeting if you're just going to say, yeah, she did it to herself? Like, you're not looking for anybody, clearly. Like, there's no crime committed, at least from your perspective. So I don't really understand this whole privacy thing going on.
Can you explain to me why they switched it, death of manner, to a suicide?
So the medical examiner points to a few key pieces of evidence in this decision, including her spinal cord injuries that the office says wasn't severe and Ellen's lack of defensive wounds. The last piece of evidence they bring up in this decision was the security guard witness. This was the first time that investigators talked about that piece of evidence publicly. And the ME decided that contributed to the timeline that Ellen ultimately took her own life.
I honestly forgot about the security guard.
Don't forget about him again, because he comes up later on, so store that.
Yes, I would love to know his account. But I would also say the lack of defensive wounds doesn't necessarily point to suicide. It could be someone catching her off guard, as we said. Stab wounds to the neck. It could have been someone that sneaked up on her. And that's
Yeah.
why she has lack of defensive wounds.
Yeah, I'm not really buying like the first 2 points about the spinal cord injuries or the lack of defensive wounds for pretty much exactly what you just said. But I also, I mean, like even the security guard part, like that is not an Emmy's job at all. Like the Emmy's job is strictly to talk about like the physical evidence on the body,
The
and in
findings
the scene.
based off of the body, and
Right.
yes.
Yeah, like their job is to decide how this person died and like what was going, like what evidence lies on the body.
Not to speculate. That's the detective's job.
That's the police's job to decide to take like the Emmy report is just one piece of evidence that the police and the prosecutors decide to put into a much larger picture. So it just seems weird that they say like, oh, the security guard like swayed us in this way. I'm like, that's not appropriate at all.
I couldn't agree more.
So investigators also point to Ellen's anxiety and depression as further evidence that she was unstable and that the combination of pills she was taking was enough for her to be able to take her own life. But I also read a really interesting article about this and the pills Ellen had been prescribed. Lamb McErlin, a law firm based in Westchester County, New York, wrote about the Ellen Greenberg investigation, and they spoke with a licensed counselor who wrote, quote, "The only kind of drug that could force her to act this way on her own would have been one that gave her superhuman strength, increasing pain tolerance."
I was just going to say, back to my point on anxiety and depression, they are both very common, and I don't think pills could lead to that type of, like they said, pain tolerance. I can't imagine a basic prescription pill leading me to be able to stab myself 20 times.
Yeah, and I also, like, I read that and I think of, like, okay, superhuman strength and, like, increasing pain tolerance. Like, I think of, like, like, I can't imagine a prescription pill being able to do that. So it's like, okay, well, maybe it's, like, the only thing I can think of, I guess, is, like, heroin, like, cocaine, like, street drugs that, like, make that happen, which, again, like, there was no indication that this was involved in Ellen's death at all. But that's clearly what this counselor is referring to here, I would think, anyways. Ellen's parents are not buying the story that she died by suicide. I mean, they just wrapped their heads around the idea of someone murdering their daughter, let alone the idea that she was so unhappy in her life to end it all. On top of that, pieces of this story are just not adding up to them, and like me neither. So they hire their own private investigators and end up ordering 3 independent autopsies. The first report was published on January 11th, 2012. That report cast some serious doubt about police's suicide theory, but also the officer's investigation as a whole. The family's private investigator says the investigators only spent an hour inside of Sam and Ellen's apartment before they left and closed the crime scene, allowing friends, family, and even employees at the apartment inside. The report also says that it's rare for there to be multiple stab wounds in a suicide case. Typically, if someone is going to die by suicide in a stabbing, they would make shallow cuts to their wrist to see if it hurts before inflicting one fatal stab wound. The report also says that suicide victims are less likely to stab themselves through clothing, which was the case in Ellen's death. They also take a look at those multiple stab wounds to Ellen's neck. The family's private investigator says the wounds to the neck were inflicted in different directions, so they argue that makes it even more unlikely that she inflicted those herself. They rule Ellen's death highly suspicious of homicide.
And the fact that they're in different directions, is she switching hands and stabbing the back of her neck over and over and then stabbing her chest? It just doesn't really add up to me.
Yeah, the next 2 reports the family commissions are published 5 years later. All the while, the family is trying to desperately get someone to take another look at Ellen's case to no avail. The next report is published on January 10th, 2017. Here, the investigator argues the stab wound that punctured Ellen's spinal cord would have made her lose consciousness at the very least. The report also argues there is enough evidence for manual strangulation, pointing out a mark at the front of Ellen's neck that appears to be from a fingernail and discusses bruising around the neck too. The report also makes the first mention that I saw of bruises found in different places across Ellen's body. The bruises are in different phases of healing, and the investigator argues they are consistent with repeated beatings. The investigator rules Ellen's death a homicide too.
Well, that would make sense that the bruising was the only defensive wounds. You would not see them maybe in the initial reports because, I mean, bruising takes like a few days to progress.
Let me provide a little more context here of what I think they're trying to say. Like, I think it's very clear that what they're trying to say here is that, like, this didn't happen on the night she was murdered. Like, this happened over several months that she had these bruises pop up across her body. So the last report is published on January 29th, 2018. This report raises questions about the dried blood on Ellen when she was found. The investigator said it appeared Ellen had been moved after she died. The investigator says the blood spatter shows evidence that she was likely standing when she received her initial stab wound before she fell, with her head leaning forward, producing more blood stains on her shirt and pants. The report also says Ellen's death is consistent with a homicide scene too.
Does it say in any of the reports whether the chest wounds or the neck wounds were done first?
So yes, but we're going to get there a little bit later. So
take a sip in the meantime.
Yeah, so you're thinking the right way, but I like that.
It's my true crime brain thinking.
Love that for you. Well, these monstrous new reports seem really unlikely to change anyone's minds about the way Ellen died for some reason, but the family is finally about to get someone on their side. The family takes these reports to the state attorney general's office, trying to get them to take another look at Ellen's case and finally rule Ellen's death a homicide so someone can finally be held accountable for it years later. But in March 2019, the state attorney general's office deals the family another blow. They say the evidence laid out so far is indeed indicative of a manner of death of suicide. When the office says that, they back it up using searches found on Ellen's computer. Those searches include methods of suicide, quick death, and depression, which I just don't see at all. Like, sure, I don't think anyone denies that Ellen had severe mental illnesses, like she was taking prescriptions for it. Like, sure, her computer searches back that up, but the physical evidence is so contrary to that so far. And just because someone was Googling like ways to kill yourself doesn't necessarily mean that that's what they did. Plus, I really doubt stabbing yourself 20 times or even once is the first thing that pops up when you look up ways to commit suicide, and definitely not when you look up ways for quick death.
Liam, you are reading my mind, quote unquote, quick death.
Mm-hmm.
That is not what I think of. Brutal stab wounds to the neck and chest. That's not quick death. That's not pain. No. It is more likely that someone typed this into her computer versus her actually typing this into her computer and then following through with the suicide.
It is important to note that like all of these, searches were done days to weeks to months before Ellen's actual death. So I think that is really important to note. So I'm not saying that someone didn't type this into a computer and maybe, before, but this does still feel like a crime of passion. Again, if we're going with a homicide theory here, whoever did kill her, would have done that that day as opposed to weeks.
They
before.
weren't premeditating it. Yeah. You think it was heat of the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, I will say it is definitely possible that maybe she was, because she was suffering from anxiety and depression, maybe she did look these methods up, but I still don't think she would come to the conclusion of stabbing herself 20 times based off of these searches. I don't think they correlate.
Yeah, that's BS to me. I'm calling that right now. Well, Ellen's family is not giving up, though. They file a lawsuit against the city and the Philadelphia Medical Examiner's Office, wanting to get Ellen's manner of death changed from suicide to homicide, or at the very least, undetermined. The family's attorney starts poking some holes in the story investigators put together about Ellen's death, and there are a lot of holes to be poked here. They start with that building security guard. At this point, it had been revealed that the security guard was not there when Sam broke into the apartment.
Excuse
me? The lawyer even presents security camera video that backs that up, that the security guard never even left the lobby the night of Ellen's death.
Wait. So he totally lied about someone being present when he apparently busted open that door to get to his fiance.
Yeah, well, and let's also revisit the fact that this was like the linchpin in determining that it was suicide. So, like, this like piece of supposed evidence, is just gone. So it's like, okay, like, what are we going to do about that?
No one can validate her actual time of death, or at least when he discovered her.
So, yeah. So this isn't even in the end of it either. The Philadelphia Inquirer reports that police had relied on a report supposedly written by Lucy Rourke Adams on Ellen's death. It was supposedly a major deciding factor for police to rule Ellen's death a suicide.
Okay, well, what does it say?
Well, it supposedly said that she examined Ellen's spinal cord injuries and saw no major defects, but no one really knows that for sure because the Greenberg's family lawyer says no one has actually seen that report. And as a part of the Philadelphia Inquirer's investigation, a reporter actually called Lucy Rourke Adams and wrote that she did say that she did some contract work with the Philadelphia Medical Examiner's Office, but that she had no recollection of Ellen's case. The reporter also writes that there was no invoice, bill, or report from Lucy Rourke Adams' office to the medical examiner's office found in multiple public records requests.
I don't know. I'm not in that job field, so I wouldn't know if this is common for you to forget cases, but I just think if I was looking at a dead body, examining the wounds, and using my professional knowledge to make educated guesses, I feel like that would be something I would remember.
Well, and certainly you'd remember a 20-something-year-old woman being stabbed 20 times. Just a thought.
I would think so. Like I said, I don't know how many bodies she's viewed and how often how common this is for her. But I just think, me personally, especially the brutality of this case, it's definitely something that would stick in my head if I was a part of it.
Yeah, and I think the sticking point here is like there was no invoice, there was no bill, there was no report to be found. Yeah, like nothing that even indicated that this report ever existed. And so but supposedly this was like the big thing that said, okay, yeah, this was going to be something that we're going to use to rule her death as suicide.
I don't want to sound accusatory. That just sounds very sketchy to me.
Yeah. Yeah. So as for that stab wound to the neck, though, the lawyer argues that the wound could not have been self-inflicted because it lacked blood spurting, indicating that she was stabbed after she had already died.
I will say I have heard that in multiple true crime podcasts. I've heard that if the stab wounds are inflicted post-mortem, they do not bleed, whereas if they are inflicted while you are still alive, your blood is still pumping from your heart, so you do bleed from those wounds.
Yeah, right, exactly. And so that was kind of what they used to be like, no, there's no way that she was still alive when this happened because her heart had clearly stopped beating because there was no blood coming out of that wound.
So are they trying to say that the chest wounds were done first because they did bleed and the stab wounds were done post-mortem?
Yeah, so I guess that's what they're trying to say. But because the one they specifically mentioned was the one to the back of the neck, and so I guess, yeah, I guess there's, I mean, I don't really know, unless like whoever did this again, like, rotated back and forth, and so this particular stab wound is like, no, like she was already dead when this happened.
It clouds my vision of what I think happened when I hear that, because in my head, an attacker, especially with lack of defensive wounds, would have done those neck wounds first and incapacitated her while she was not expecting it.
Well, unless, here's my thought on that though, because again, there were 10 stab wounds and this is talking about one specific stab wound. So unless like it was to the back of the neck first and then just the stab wound that they're specifically talking about here, like she had already died, and then so then at that point, and then the chest wounds were next. I never really saw like specifically like what order they think this all happened in, but again, like they're talking about that one specific stab wound to the neck that they argue is post-mortem, so therefore it was impossible for her to inflict it on herself.
I will tell you right now, Liam, I'm not buying suicide.
Oh,
I can tell you right now, there's something deeper going on here. This is not suicide.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Kelly. So finally, the lawyer points out the latch on the door to Sam and Ellen's apartment. The latch that Sam had supposedly broken trying to get in when Ellen wasn't answering her phone. While the lawyer argues that the latch wasn't broken properly, saying that the latch on the door frame was pretty much undamaged outside of some loose screws. And Kelly, they also introduced some pictures the investigators took the night Ellen died. So here, I want you to take a look at this as well. Post-break.
Okay, well, I guess I see where the paint and the frame separated and the screws stripped. So I guess what is a proper break, and what do they mean by this is not a proper break?
Well, I don't really know. I guess I never really saw like it described, but this is not what I was picturing at all. Like, I was picturing, like, all of these...
busted, splintered.
Yeah, busted open. Like, I guess I could see a world where this is, like, able to open, but, I mean, he's easily, like, 200 plus pounds based on the pictures of him. So I just can't imagine, like, this 200 plus pound, like, muscular man breaking through this door and, like, not doing more damage than this.
I am thinking, though, if the neighbors didn't hear anything, this does seem like a relatively delicate break. I don't know, it does seem like one swift kick might have unlatched, like, separated the pain.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, like, so what I think it sounds like you're saying, like, that his story, it seems to be adding up a little bit more in terms of, like, neighbors not being able to hear this.
Yeah, just as far as when we do think of a door getting busted in, we think of a lot of splintered wood, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, like at least some damage to the actual door or the door frame.
Absolutely, and maybe that's what they mean by proper break.
I mean, if it's that easy, I mean, I guess the only thing I'm learning from that is I'm, like, never trusting that ever again. Like,
no, right? You always need a second backup.
Yeah, I guess so. At this point, the family finally gets someone to agree with them. A judge allows the family's lawsuit to proceed, saying that there was enough evidence presented to potentially change Ellen's cause of death away from suicide, and allowing the family to go through with a wrongful death lawsuit if that change is eventually made. In the meantime, the family is asking the Philadelphia district attorney to take another look at Ellen's case, but the DA actually represented the family at one point while he was in private practice, so he deflects to the state attorney general's office to avoid a potential conflict of interest, which is the same excuse that the state attorney general eventually uses in 2022 when the office punts it back to the Philadelphia district attorney, saying they want to avoid a conflict of interest or the appearance of a conflict of interest too. But NBC Philadelphia reported it's not clear what exactly that conflict of interest is. But luckily, the Chester County District Attorney's Office picks the case up to take another look in late 2022. And in 2023, that's exactly where things stand. Ellen's case is still a suicide, at least on paper, but at least it's open with the possibility that after all of these years, the family could finally get a fresh look at the case and finally get some closure of what happened to Ellen Greenberg.
I can't imagine being a friend, a mother to this woman, and
oh my God,
knowing that her death is marked down in legal papers as a suicide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and just reading through this, like, it was like the roller coaster of back and forth, like, you know, like it's a homicide, then it's a suicide, then like maybe it's not a homicide, but then maybe it's a suicide, and it's like, oh my God, like the trauma.
The trauma that that family and those friends are probably facing, just having to deal with the constant back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
It's and let alone labeling it as a suicide. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not any sort of medical professional in this field, but that just seems like a slap in the face to the victim.
Yeah, me neither. And the good news, though, is that someone is finally looking at Ellen's death again. But I think it's very obvious that investigators originally probably didn't treat Ellen's apartment even remotely like a possible murder scene. I mean, the only people who believe that she committed suicide was them. So I think it's very likely that they went into that crime scene under the assumption that it was a suicide and treated it like one from the beginning. And look, if the ultimate outcome to Ellen's death is that she did indeed take her own life, I will eat these words. But I'm just not buying it. But regardless, everyone's death deserves to be investigated thoroughly. And so you can put the pressure on investigators right now to investigate Ellen's death to the fullest possible extent. You can let them know that you care about Ellen and her family. So if you know anything about Ellen Greenberg's death, call the Chester County District Attorney's Office, and that number is 610-344-6801. And you can also sign the family's change.org petition, which we're also going to list under our show notes.
It doesn't hurt anything to push for more investigation. I mean, the family and the friends of her deserve closure, and it only makes sense that we can get a definitive answer on what happened to her.
Yeah. Well, and also just the cloud over this investigation too, I think it's fair at the very least to take another good hard look here and make sure that we really looked at everything that we can 12 years later to make sure that we really know for sure, that we can really say for sure that no one was responsible for this, that no one deserves to be serving time for this.
I mean, this is a brutal death, and I don't think that this person would do a one and done situation. It seems like it was a very, very violent crime, and I just can't imagine it being a one-off thing. I think we really need to get to the bottom of what happened and who's responsible for it.
Well, that is all that we have for you this week. And Callie, thank you so much for coming on. It was so great to talk with you again, even now after this, incredibly challenging story to talk about.
No, yeah, obviously the story was hard to digest, but it's something that everyone needs to hear.
So important.
You're doing amazing, amazing things advocating for these victims.
Well, Kelly, we love our crime and our wine, but we also love our rescue pets too. And I know that's one of your biggest passions. So tell everyone where they can find your work online or support rescue animals from wherever they're listening to this episode.
Yeah, absolutely. I work for 2 incredible shelters that basically we take on the cases that no one else will, and we fund them, and whether it's medical, behavioral, we will figure it out and we will help these animals. One of them is littleshelter.org. The other one is southamptonanimalshelter.com. Both of them would really appreciate a good donation or even a share on one of their posts. Close to 1 million animals worldwide are euthanized in shelters every year. And this is not due to medical issues or behavioral issues. This is strictly due to lack of space, lack of resources, lack of funding. 99% of dogs in shelters are actually healthy and adoptable. Most breeders don't even genetically test their breeding dogs to ensure healthy litters, and even if they do, that in no way guarantees their health. Only 20% of our 50 states require these statistics to be reported. So who knows how many dogs are actually being euthanized? Who knows how many dogs are actually being adopted out? There really is no accurate way of telling.
Well, as the owner of 2 very shy dogs from the shelter, I can definitely attest to that. And I can say that once they break out of that little, that awkward little bubble that, makes things a little challenging, sometimes they follow me around everywhere, and they are 2 of my best friends in the entire world. So I guess moral of the story here is adopt, don't shop, right?
If you don't see something you like, next week we will have something new.
Well, I love your passion for this so much, and I could talk about this all day with you. So here's my thought. I think we should do a water podcast and also a dog podcast. Just throwing it out there. You don't have to commit right now.
I will marinate on it, but yeah.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you again so much for coming on, and thank you all so much for listening. We are going to put all of our sources on our website so you can read everything for yourself and probably come up with a few theories for yourself too. So make sure you follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and we will see you next week for another episode of Crime Over Wine.
Proud member of the Podnuga Network.
Hey, it's Amy Brown from The Bobby Bones Show. Join me in supporting St. Jude Children's Research Hospital for a chance to win a trip to meet Megan Maroney at the 2025 iHeart Country Festival in Austin, Texas on May 3rd, hosted by Bobby Bones. We're going to hook you up with tickets, flights, hotel, food credits, and a meet and greet with Megan Maroney. Take action now to support St. Jude and help cure childhood cancer, and you're going to be entered for a chance to win. Visit iHeartCountryTrip.com to learn more.
How to have fun anytime, anywhere. Step 1. Go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2. Collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3. Play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4. Unleash your excitement.
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.